Hey everybody, Jason here, and today we're going to be doing another little book review. Maybe not so little, because the book's actually kind of thick. But we're actually going to be talking about Star Wars Lost Stars, this nice book right here by Claudia Gray. Sorry, I'm like, like hitting everything. Okay, so recently I have actually reviewed another book of hers, and that was, what was it, Bloodline. And I actually didn't realize that both of these books were done by the same author until I'd finished reading this one. So first off, let me just talk about the fact that there will potentially be some spoilers in this. Again, if you've seen any of my book reviews, I try to be as vague as possible, but yet still giving enough description to give you a good idea of what I'm talking about. Because, I mean, I review these purely for the fact that I want people to know about them, and then hopefully go read them themselves. Either way, I've been on a big kick lately to read into a lot of the new Star Wars lore, especially with, Episode 7 having been released, Rogue One coming out soon this year. I think it's coming out like a little bit after my birthday, which is exciting. And then also with Episode 8 coming out next year. So lots of cool stories are coming out of people, especially for the fact that it's new canon. So this is basically building on the lore after the events of, Battle of Endor, leading up until Episode 7. And there's like 30 years of space that they can now fill with new, interesting stories. Even though, I was quite a big fan of the existing stories. Sorry, it's it's been a very busy day for me, and I'm already quite warm. But anyway, it's cool to read these new stories. I don't see them as replacing the original stories. I just see them as side stories that also happened. It doesn't necessarily make that much sense in the long run because, obviously characters are going to be doing different things with different people. But there's always a chance that some of the characters that were established in the previous canon may actually end up coming back. I saw that, one of my favorite book villains from the original Star Wars Expanded Universe might be coming into the the Star Wars Rebels TV show, which is really exciting. So I'll have to do some more research on that one to find out if it's actually true. Either way, Star Wars Lost Stars. Let me just say first off that I was very surprised by this book. It started off being a very obvious Romeo and Juliet type story where, this rich boy ends up going to the same place as this poor girl, and they meet, and by chance they form a friendship that lasts forever. Which, it's kind of cliche, and I saw it coming. And at first, everything was incredibly predictable. And I wasn't too big a fan of that. But as the story went on, I started realizing that I wasn't able to fully predict everything that was coming. I still had a good idea, but there were actually some twists and turns that sort of threw me for a loop, and I was actually kind of excited. Now, the reason why I picked up this book is because I knew that it dealt with the Battle of Jakku, and I thought that it was post episode 6. Sorry, I'm trying to put all the facts together in my head. I literally just finished reading this book today. I was reading it while I was doing laundry, and I finished it up. So I'm trying to make sure that I put all of my thoughts into motion correctly. But anyway, yeah, I thought it took place after episode 6 and only after episode 6. But it doesn't. This actually spans quite a long time. We meet the characters when they're, I want to say, 8, and that's pre original Death Star. So basically, the kids, I think they turn 16 or 18, and then they're off to Imperial service, and then that's when the Death Star is actually there. So they're already almost 20 by the time the Death Star appears, and then there's 3 years, so 23, and then it talks about the fact that it talks about like the year after the Battle of Endor, and so it takes a span of like the entire prequel trilogy, not the prequel trilogy, but the original trilogy, and sort of puts these characters in the sidelines. But I mean, they are the main characters, but they're in places that cross paths or make mention to existing lore within like the Star Wars universe, which was actually kind of cool. It's like when they're at the Imperial Academy, they're on Coruscant, and it just so happens that on Coruscant they're at a ball, and Princess Leia is there, and one of the characters actually dances with Princess Leia. And this is, I guess, during the formation of the rebellion, so they hear things about Alderaan, and then one of the people are like stationed on the ship that actually captures the rebel cruiser, which has Princess Leia on it. Then there's the fact that one of them is actually stationed aboard the Death Star, and just so happens to be looking into Princess Leia's intel of Dantooine as being a past like rebel base when it actually gets attacked and destroyed. They both somehow end up at Hoth. They cross paths with people like Dak, who flew with Luke Skywalker on the Battle of Hoth, and he died, unfortunately. And I mean, they hear about Han Solo, they hear about Lando Calrissian. One of them has a run-in with Mon Mothma. They get briefed by Admiral Akbar, and they're off doing the missions that lead into discovering that there's like an amassed Imperial fleet. So now's their chance to go attack the second Death Star, and how both of them sort of like intertwine in that battle, and it's very interesting. I like good stories, and this one, although it seemed predictable in the beginning, it was still written very well. And had I known that it was written by the same author that did Bloodlines, I should have expected that. I liked Bloodline a lot. It was a very good book. I wouldn't say that one was predictable. This one was more so, but either way, the way that she writes her books is amazing. I think it's quite fantastic. Just the stories that are woven together are very impressive, and the characters are the biggest part. And I think I said that for the last review of one of her books, that the characters, they stood out of the pages, and they were fleshed out people that I could imagine in my head. And it wasn't anything about them being like, just two-dimensional characters that took the plot from one to another. Like, I actually cared for these two characters. So let me just go into a little bit more detail then. The book revolves around two characters. A character called Thane, Kyrell, and then another one called Sienna Rhee. I hope that I'm saying their names right. Basically, Thane is from a rich family that was the second wave of, I want to say, immigrants to the planet of Julusan. I hope that I'm saying these words so right. And then Sienna was a descendant from the original immigrants to Julusan, and it just so happens that the day of the Imperial takeover, like official takeover of that planet, they both are heading to the ceremony with their families. Both of them are, and like the way that they introduce it's like they love spaceships, and they want to go see all the spaceships, and so it's their love of spaceships that draw them to the landing field where, unattended, they go check out one of the Imperial starships, which was like the Lambda class shuttle, which you see all the time. It's that white one with the 3 wings and everything like that. I like those ones. And she's getting bullied by some of the second waver, that's what they call them, kids. And Thane comes and saves her, and basically they form a friendship. And through that friendship, they learn how to fly. And even though their families don't like it on both sides, they're both, happy with each other regardless of their socio-economic and like belief, differences, because they're just kids. You know, they want to have fun, they want to be friends, and they want to learn, and so they use each other in a good way to progress. And eventually, they decide that they want to join the Imperial Academy and join the Imperial Starfleet, because their view of it at the time is one of wonder and one of hope, and they see what it's done to their planet so far, and they feel, oh, it's going to be a really good thing. So they go to school, and they realize that, I mean, it's incredibly challenging, and they're told that, your friends, you've got to leave them behind and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, through their courses and tests, their friendship is tested, and that's where, Thane gets a little bit disgruntled with the idea of the Empire, because he feels that if they can attack themselves just for like a petty gain, why do they deserve, why do they deserve his service? But yet with Sienna, her upbringing is very honor bound, so she can't believe that the Empire would do anything like that, so she sticks up for it, and so it breaks up their friendship. But that's like, and I guess that was like the starting point for everything that sort of happens, because as they progress, Sienna is honor bound to serve the Empire, and she is always looking for the good in what the Empire is, where Thane is more seeing everything for what it probably actually is, and seeing the actual evils that are happening. And even though he did it, like, he had no real chance to leave the Empire, and it, eventually Sienna and Thane, they reconnect, and they try to bond again, and they actually start expressing their feelings for each other. And when Thane eventually decides to leave the Empire due to things that he's seen that he can't ignore, he communicates with Sienna and tries to, like, without actually saying the words, express where to meet him, and that she needs to leave the Empire. And her trying to say things without words is, saying, we're just going to stick with it, and we got to stay with the Empire no matter what, and once we're done, then we can be together. But, so it's star-crossed lovers, both seeing one answer in what the other one says that isn't exactly what they were saying at all. So basically it leads to that split where Sienna is honor bound to now stay with the rebellion, stay with the Empire, and Thane is now joining the rebellion, and deserting from the Empire because he just can't believe in it anymore. So I don't know, it's very interesting how they set that up and how that plays out on both sides. Everything seems so coincidental. Like, why in the entire universe would these two characters keep on bumping paths with each other? But then when I think about it, I don't care. They're looking at a story that I already know from a different perspective, and I really enjoy that. I think that it was told amazingly well. The characters, oh my god, I love them. Even as cliche as they were, I love them. They were great. But yeah, the characters were fantastic, and it only really dealt with a couple main characters, and there was a few side characters that they threw in, which were, not as fleshed out, but they added to the story in a really wonderful way. All in all, I'll say that this book is definitely a must-read. I mean, if you read Bloodline and hadn't read this, go back and read this. Claudia Gray is a good author. She's doing really good. So I think that I found like another really interesting author that I'll enjoy reading from in the future, hopefully. Because I think my favorite author from the old canon stuff was Timothy Zahn. I think I'm about to start reading one of his books soon, and it's part of like a double or like a 2-book series. But anyway. Definitely like this book. I would definitely give it like a 5 out of 5. Probably like a 4.5 just for being a little bit cliche in the beginning and maybe a little bit too predictable. But I mean, it definitely makes up for it for the fact that the characters are there and they're alive, and the world that they live in I mean, even though I know what it is, it's very good. And I know that I'm saying this over and over again, but it's very good to see a similar story from a different perspective. I think that even in real life, I think that's one of my favorite things about stories is that I can hear the one thing from one person, but then from another, it can be told in a completely different way, which sheds just more light on everything, and I love it. It's great. But yeah, so please check out Star Wars Lost Stars if you are hungry for more Star Wars lore. I promise it won't really disappoint. Olivia agrees. She thinks it was fantastic too. She got through it a lot faster than I did. Anyway, before I go, I just wanted to point out, because it seems that every single book that I've read so far has had some sort of weird error. So the first one that I wanted to point out was, it was just like a spelling error. It says, Star Destroyers attack cruises and light cruisers, almost as many TIE fighters as stars. And it's obviously supposed to be attack cruisers, but, you know, obviously attack cruises. And I'm like, that's not necessarily what I think it's supposed to be. The other thing was more just what I saw as a plot loophole. Basically, it's there's a scene in which Ciena is on the she's on basically the executor or the executor. I think it's executor. Vader's Superstar Destroyer, basically. And they're flying towards. Is it a Superstar Destroyer or is it just a Star Destroyer? I think it's a Superstar Destroyer if I remember correctly. Anyway, that's beside the point. She's on Vader's flagship, and they're headed to Bespin to go to Cloud City to capture, to capture Luke by way of capturing the Millennium Falcon. So basically, they arrive there, and it says, although Ciena would have liked to have gone down to Cloud City, perhaps to meet Jude's parents, she remained aboard the Executor, or the Executor. I have that one word in my mind. But then later on, it says... Sorry, let me just make sure that I've found the right spot. It says, maybe his father did this to him, Ciena thought as she walked through the corridors of Cloud City. And I'm like... And basically, I just want to point it out. The bit where she says that she can't go is right here. And the bit that she says that she can, or that it says that she is walking through, is literally on the opposite page. And nothing in between there. Does it say that she went to Cloud City? Nothing between... I mean... I don't know! I really don't know! It's just... It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'll forgive it for the fact that, it was... like one instance that this happened. And I don't know why it stuck out in my mind like a sore thumb. It's like I had to reread this like 3 times just to make sure that I was reading it correctly. And but yeah, I feel like that's like the biggest mistake that I've ever seen. But you know what? I'm not an author. I'm not the editor. Who am I to say? But anyway, please check this book out. You'll like it. Bye. I'm being quiet because, Link doesn't talk. Entry-level Rick Moranis Dark Helmet impersonator. Not very good.